redirecting our thoughts to the mission to kind of focus us. The mission of North Dakota Local Foods Development Alliance is to design and implement a local food development plan to achieve the vision of a vibrant, prosperous local food sector. So that's why we're gathered today. And we'll start with introductions. And since I can see you all listed here, I'm going to start with the bottom of my screen and work up. It's good to see you here today, Jill. Would you like to introduce yourself and your organization?
Sure, thank you, Stephanie. My name is Jill Hawkinson. I'm with Rural Development. I'm a community development specialist in the northeastern part of North Dakota, and I also have collateral duties now with USDA, RMA, NRCS, FSA, and RD to be the state beginning farmer rancher coordinator for the next 2 years.
Fantastic. That's good to know. We'll have to talk more about that. Molly, would you introduce yourself? Are you still there, Molly? Does that help, Molly? I unmuted everyone. Okay, we'll give her a second to sort out whatever technical things are happening. Oh, she must have got booted somehow. Okay, we'll give you a second, Molly, to get settled. Holiday, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Holiday. I'm with USDA Rural Development too. I work with Jill, but she's way over to the right in the east, and I am down in Bismarck. I'm the Native American Outreach Coordinator for the tribes in North Dakota and Standing Rock down into South Dakota.
Great. And Karen?
Hi, this is Karen Ahrens with Coordinator for Creating a Hunger-Free North Dakota Coalition and on the Bismarck Board of Directors. And hello, everyone. So glad that you could make this meeting.
And Craig?
Hey, Craig Burns. I'm a social work faculty at University of North Dakota.
Great. Molly, are you in now?
I am. I got bumped out for some reason. I'm having a hard time with Zoom. I'm Molly McLean. I work currently with North Dakota Farmers Union, and that's my daughter Anya in the background.
Welcome, Molly and Anya. And Megan Laudenschlager is just joining us. I'm just admitting her to the waiting room. Welcome, Megan. We are doing introductions. Everybody has introduced themselves except me, so I will go and then you can introduce yourself, Megan, so you have a minute to get settled in. I am Stephanie Bloomhagen. I'm the Executive Director of FARMS. We're a statewide nonprofit that provides education and support to beginning farmers who grow local food. And I'm currently the board chair for North Dakota Local Foods Development Alliance. Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan Laudenschlager. I am the Executive Director of Strengthen ND. A mountain of apologies for being late. It is just life today. So good to see you all.
Thanks, Megan. And just life, I think, just encompasses the experience for a lot of us. I know I feel like I'm treading water and just like my nose is just barely above the surface. So sometimes like this meeting's agenda didn't get out quite as early as I'd planned and hoped, but I appreciate everybody being patient with me and being patient with all of us, because, you know, we're all in this together. Well, thank you all for joining us. Are there, so you have the link to the agenda, you can see it on the shared screen. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Move to approve as presented.
Okay, second?
Karen, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Agenda is approved. And then the minutes were sent in your email, and they're in the Google Drive and are on your screen. I'll give you a minute. So these are the minutes from April 21st. I'll give you a second to take a look at those. And while you're doing that, someone's at the door. I'm just going to go make sure it's not something dire, and I'll be right back. Okay. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Motion to approve.
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Minutes approved. Thank you all.
Stephanie? Hello?
Hi, is that Bill?
Yes, I've been on, but I'm one of the poverty-stricken non-Zoom members here, so just wanted you to know. I vote in favor as well. Thank you.
Bill. A, how did you sneak in past the waiting room? And B, would you introduce yourself to the group?
Well, I'm a consultant. I have the pleasure of working with Megan with Strengthen ND, and I also grow. And it's great to be in the meeting. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. Okay, so we've got a lot of, there is a ton of stuff happening connected to a surge in interest in local food related to breakdowns in traditional food systems and marketing systems related to COVID-19. And when I say traditional, I mean, you know, the large scale systems, for example, the meat packing plant, the large meat packing plants that have been affected by COVID-19 and are struggling, things like that. So one of these things is the North Dakota Rural Grocers Initiative is working to connect local producers to marketing avenues through their rural grocery stores and co-ops. And unfortunately, Lori Sapu isn't able to join us, and I don't see Holly Mobby with us today. So I guess, Karen, you and I, Karen, you're most directly connected with this Rural Grocers Initiative, so I would like to give you the opportunity to share about this project.
Sure, it's just something that's coming together very quickly, and great cooperation between the North Dakota Grocers Association, the North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Cooperatives, North Dakota Farmers Market and Growers Association, to help connect local producers of food with rural grocery stores as a means of adding resiliency to the food system and providing sources of locally produced foods on the shelves of local rural grocery stores. So at this time of great interest in local foods and Facebook pages popping up, our rural grocery stores are an infrastructure that has been present, and they are doing seeing increased business at this time of pandemic, just like they see increased business when there's a blizzard. And so as they are around to help people access food in rural areas, they also want to continue to remain relevant to their customers and be there to provide the service when they're most crucially needed. So they have put together a video, which is, I think, nearing final production, and then looking to partner organizations like ours to help get the word out about the efforts, to share this video when it's ready, which shows a couple of success stories between small local farmers and grocers and the food co-op in Bismarck. And so they are, like everything else, putting this together on the fly, and are looking to partners to help provide suggestions and ideas for how to get the word out, how to keep making these local connections happen.
I think if we get through our agenda, maybe for the last 5 minutes, like at 2:55, I could play at least part of the video so that those who are on Zoom can see a little bit of it. It's not ready for release, so we can't share the link yet. They're still putting together some additional resources through the Entrepreneurial Center for Horticulture. But Karen and I have been asking, when you're ready to release it, give us resources and we'll broadcast it. We'll make sure people can reshare through social media and emails and things like that. And in addition, I have offered because Farms is already looking at ways that we can provide connections for farmers and build the capacity of other organizations by rebroadcasting and amplifying existing educational content. We'd already been looking at how to do farmer socials. So we're looking at maybe sharing this video and then scheduling a farmer chat on Zoom where maybe we show the video and then we have a discussion. What questions do you have about selling to your local grocery store? Are you interested in doing this? How can we help you do this? Maybe we could bring in a grocer to participate in the conversation. So we'll let you know more as things come together, and we'll definitely be requesting support in getting the word out about these efforts. The second exciting thing that's happening in response to renewed interest in local foods is a partnership project funded by SARE. So Carl Hoppe from North Dakota SARE let me know, and other partners know, that the North Central SARE was making a small amount of funding available to each state directed at providing support for online marketing for local foods. So we pulled together a partnership of NDSU's Entrepreneurship Center, which is the NICE Center, who is already providing one-on-one technical assistance to small businesses setting up websites and online shops. And then Farms and the North Dakota Farmers Market and Growers Association and some others. So the bulk of this project will be connecting farmers with one-on-one technical assistance from the NICE Center. One of their entrepreneurship students will be matched with each farmer, and they'll help them find the right platform for them, walk them through what their marketing needs are. Are you just looking to, show your products, or do you want an actual shopping cart, things like that? But then they'll actually, walk them through the process of setting it up. So when this is done, the farmer will have a product that they'll be ready to go, ready to do online marketing and or sales. In conjunction, Farms is coordinating 2 webinars. The first will be an intro to online marketing. So it'll introduce the idea, some of the basic concepts and platforms, and then we'll introduce the NICE Center. They'll be on there as well. So to create that connection, and then introduce this idea, and then farmers can start signing up. So that webinar is meant to amplify the project, help get the word out that this support is available so that farmers take advantage of it. The second one is a webinar to educate farmers about food safety and cottage foods and the specific issues that arise with online marketing. Some value-added products can't legally be sold online, but it's okay to market them as long as the financial transaction happens face-to-face. So it's a matter of whether they pay by credit card online or if they pay in person when the product is delivered. So yeah, so those are 2 exciting opportunities that are coming up. Again, I'll be sharing as we put this together. I'll share the information with this group and ask for help spreading the word and reaching out to farmers. One specific question was that I saw that North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance planned to do 4 Breakfast of Champions sessions. And you had identified 4 topics. You already had insurance for small farms, or insurance for farmers, in November of 2019. There was also a planned topic on mental health for farmers, and something I've forgotten, and marketing was a topic. So I guess my question for the group was, do we want to schedule a Breakfast of Champions in conjunction with these other projects?
I'm not sure. Just thinking through when we had initially talked about Breakfast of Champions, we had talked about trying to do it like quote unquote off farm season because people would be out working in fields and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an opinion either way. I'm not quite sure. The health insurance one I think had decent attendance of around 10-ish, I believe. And I know that was helpful because folks had a lot of questions, but I don't know in the time of a pandemic if it is marketing, if it is, I'm not sure. So I could go either way.
When I do plan to record these sessions as much as possible. So potentially pieces of them, if we did a Breakfast of Champions in the fall, there would be recorded material that could be used fall or winter too. And it's a question of capacity as well. I personally probably don't have time to also do a Breakfast of Champions along with these.
Stephanie, did you just say you don't have?
Not me personally,
Yeah.
because my
So,
energy.
yeah, someone else would have to take the lead.
Yeah. Oh, poor Molly's having problems today. Are you back, Molly?
She might not be. She's reached out to me too.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm back again. My Zoom keeps quitting, so my apologies if I've missed some.
No problem. And so everyone's aware, I am recording today's session for Molly and for a couple others who said they couldn't join us but wanted to know what the conversation was about.
Great. Thank you.
So maybe we can return to this question about Breakfast of Champions specifically. It sounds like that might be a better done in the winter, in the off season, for sure. But it does tie into the next topic, which is more of a general conversation about the current interest in local food and NDLFDA's role. So the three questions that I put in the agenda is, what is NDLFDA's role in addressing increased demand for local food? Karen had brought up some great points in our planning meeting about how do we ensure availability and accessibility to all, need for a survey that may have been more related to Food Hub work. I'm not sure, but that was like, do we need to know more about the needs of producers and consumers? So maybe for the next 5 minutes or so, we could just open the floor to discussion. You know, what are you seeing in your communities? What?
I'll jump in because, yeah, so I hear a lot of people complaining that they're not able to access meat at the volume that they would like because the grocery stores are limiting it. So I think that I see there to be a need for connecting people, ranchers directly to consumers. And I know that a lot of that is already going on via social media, which I think is fantastic. Personally, I think that our role should be, what is our role in addressing increased demand for local food? I think for what we potentially could have the capacity to do would be to educate on, if you want to buy directly from consumers, here's a social media site, or here is a tools to, or questions to consider, or something like that. I think, to me, education is something that a lot of us are doing in one way or another, and might be an easy way for us to support consumers to access local food. But those are just my thoughts.
I think I wished Jamie Good was on the call today. I know he and Department of Ag have done some stuff in the past on marketing meat, and what I've been hearing is that the bottleneck is local processors. Local ranchers are happy to sell it directly, but the processors are booked months out, and what has been processed is all sold. Their freezers are empty. They just, you know, they need somebody to butcher that steer. So, but yeah, and rebroadcasting the educational materials that others are creating, because I've been sharing on farms websites some articles that others have already produced about, here's what you should consider if you want to buy meat directly from a producer.
Yeah, this is Karen. And I've seen those too, and seen the the social media pages. And I've also heard from at least one other rancher who's seeing that in some cases some of the newer people who are selling direct to consumers are selling at a quite low price, which are below the cost of production for some other small producers that have been in business for a while. And just, you know, as that could be put on questions to consider, like, do you have room in your freezer for a quarter of a beef? Or, you know, what are the, how is this being processed? Where can you get it processed? And then to that, ensuring availability and accessibility to all. The social media pages are not available or accessible to people who don't have internet service or a reliable computer, or this meat is not available to people who utilize WIC program or SNAP program to purchase meals. So from my perspective, that's something in sustainable infrastructure that helps ensure availability and accessibility would be something I would hope that we as North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance can help work on.
So sustainable infrastructure, like the food hubs?
Yeah, like a food hub or like a rural grocery store where there is infrastructure in place, but they're struggling somewhat. And food hubs, which are hard to be sustained solely from the fees, the small fees that might be charged to producers to match up their product.
Is anybody talking with meat processors, small town butchers, to find out what their challenges are? Like, do they need loans and financing in order to expand? Do they need more skilled workers to cut the meat up, or more hanging space? Maybe
I think, yeah, talking to like the Tuttle butchering operation could be a place, and then also some of the other smaller ones.
the which one?
Not Tuttle, but let's see, where Patty Patry lives.
Bowden.
Bowden, thank you. Bowden Meat Processing.
Yeah.
There's also someone in at Robinson that does processing as well.
We had we had a Farm Beginnings student, T&L Meats in Pettibone. I don't know if they process other people's. They were processing and marketing beef that they raised themselves. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one I'm referring to, Stephanie.
Okay.
They had contacted our agency over a year ago, I think, for funding. I think we sent information, but no applications came in.
Farms gave them a small loan to purchase a trailer that they could put coolers in and better market their meat. Okay.
You know, periodically the tribes talk to me about setting up a meat processing plant. And you know, we provide information about what funding is possible, but they never seem to get off the ground. And I'm not quite sure why. Up at MHA and Standing Rock and even up in Turtle Mountain, they just don't get beyond the conceptual planning, you know, thinking about it, brainstorming, but they never move forward. And I'm not quite sure why. And oftentimes it seems like they need people who are, what's the word? Entrepreneurial.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to find people who want to step up and actually do the work necessary. So, never happens.
Okay. What are you, Craig and Jill, what are you seeing over in the northeast part of the state?
I guess where I'm at, most of our local meat processors, the ones I can think of, Hope has a good one now that's open, and there's another one up in Langdon, and they are running so far behind. I know when we take one of our cows in, we have to schedule out, you know, months in advance usually. It's just, there's very few of them, and it's a high skilled, you know, it's, I mean, you can't just start a meat processing, you know, it's highly skilled. You have to go to at least some type of education for how to get the meat cuts right and things. And we used to have a super successful one just a couple miles away from me here in Annetta that operated for years and years. But as that generational, you know, people get older, the newer, younger people aren't as interested maybe in the amount of hard labor, I guess you could say, and I mean, it isn't easy getting into it. And from what I'm seeing, the ones that are in it are pretty successful. They're operating well. They probably do lack. I know Bucks needs more help, and Hope if he could get it, but also you're limited on how much you can store too. And when all these meat processing plants in South Dakota started shutting down, there was beef and a lot of pork to be had out there, you know, pigs that they just couldn't get rid of. And I don't know how you promote the small. I think we could do it through RD holidays somehow to promote this entrepreneurial, you know, we have the programs to get the small businesses going. It's just to find those individuals interested in doing, you know, that type of work. And I don't see how anybody couldn't be successful if they put their mind to it with, you know, processing, especially with the, you know, wild game and things that November, you cannot get into a meat processing plant, a local small town one.
Yeah. One day, my mentor, Bill Davis, took me to a butcher's shop or in Mandan, and they were thriving. It seemed like they were just going to town. And I think they had been established for some time there, but correct me if I'm wrong, Bill. I don't remember the name of the place. I'm a vegetarian, so I'm not really that motivated when it comes to carcasses, but they seem like they really had endless business there.
Butcher block is what it's called on Main Street. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great little business.
Okay, well, okay, so definitely a need for support in the local meat industry. For the sake of time, I'm going to move on to the next discussion point, number 7, which, you know, some of the comments from number 6 may still be relevant, so we can, these discussions bleed into one into the next. We had talked about maybe pursuing some grant funding to help this organization grow and expand and move forward. But first, we need to identify what our goals are. Where do we want to go? What do we want to, focus on? So I wanted to have that discussion first. You had a food hub huddle up in April, and I think the work was directed towards supporting food hubs. So I want to make sure that doesn't get dropped, that we continue that momentum. We have at board meetings, we have discussed creating some form of membership requirements. And this isn't in any way to be exclusive, because the goal is to bring as many people in. This is really a practical issue. We have this membership list with 40 some names on it, but what does that mean? Who are they still engaged? Do they just want to pop in occasionally, or do they really want to consistently engage and be considered members? So if we had like an application process, that would be a way to say, yes, I want to be a member of this. And then do we want to charge a membership fee? As it could be just a token of, putting some skin in the game to say, yeah, I want to be part of this. Or it could be a way to provide a little bit of income so the organization has some funding to do some things. And then, do we need to look at surveys and research? If we pursued staffing, what would we need a staff member to do? So let's start with food hub work. Where were we at, and where do we need to go? For example, there's some interest in food hubs in the Red River Valley. Kurt Stofferin contacted me. He lives in Fargo. When the Prairie Roots Food Co-op closed, some of those producers were looking at alternate ways of reaching customers, and some of them are talking about creating a food hub.
When we completed the Food Hub Huddle Up, everyone seemed really appreciative of the added information, but one of the pieces that seemed to be a consistent barrier that we talked about a bit but never actually could come down to any strategies for it was the distribution piece, specifically to institutions, hospitals, nursing homes, schools, because of the cost barrier. And I know that we had talked about bringing together a roundtable of potential institutions and potential local food suppliers to talk about how to overcome that cost issue, but I don't believe that it went any further than that. And that is the last that I can remember about the specific food hub work.
Okay. And when you said a roundtable of institutions, were you thinking of like the schools themselves, or like the supplier, like Garski Produce or Cisco?
I don't recall talking about the suppliers. I could be wrong, but it was more than schools. I believe it was the long-term care facilities and the hospitals as well. I know that was last spring that had taken place, and so about a year ago. That's the last of what I can remember we had discussed.
Okay.
Yeah, we were looking to speak directly to the end users. For example, through the work with the borough grocers, No, and it's been shown during this pandemic that there are different routes, package sizes, packaging requirements, quantities and volume that are needed for institutional food services, restaurants, schools, and the consumer. Those are all have been different, and they're supplied through different channels. And as we've learned in the pandemic, it's been hard. It's starting to be done now somewhat, but to get food that was designed to go from one channel to restaurants, for example, to a grocery store, for another example. So we, in the Food Hub, discussions had not been yet thinking of working with the Sysco's of the world that run on large volumes, but rather initiating a series of discussions with hospitals, nursing homes, maybe schools. There supposedly is a farm to school program housed at the North Dakota Department of Agriculture and Department of Public Instruction. But there, I don't believe, is it a full-time coordinator? It falls to someone's part-time of their job. So that those are things we had been thinking of.
And I know that some farmers are taking it upon themselves to directly organize themselves and initiate farm to school. I think Mary Podol with Podol Stoll Farms is doing farm to school and trying to find others to work with her.
Yep, and we also do have a local food coordinator position hired in Bismarck, and that person, part of her work, Rachel Howard, is to do that, help with that organizing as well.
Great. And it sounds like what's happening in Fargo is it looks like a producer, I think his name's Bjorn Solberg, is coordinating other CSA producers nearby, and they're sort of creating their own food hub. I don't know what their goal is, or everything I know is secondhand from Kurt Stoffer and from my own staff member talking to some of our farmers to find out needs for our programming. Craig, is there any food hub conversations happening in Grand Forks?
There've been, it's never gone beyond conversation. I know FAME has, after the co-op here went under, she's attempted to reconstitute a board, because their board, just between attrition and people moving and whatever, is they don't have a quorum, to see if we can do something with what's left. I think it was called Amazing Grains, to get something moving in Grand Forks or in this area, but that's as far as it's gotten. So we've been talking, she and I have been talking about it and talking and you know, all this since I got here about 2 years ago. And that's as far as we've been able to get. And getting people to the table, getting people to make the commitment and become involved is kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too.
Yeah, and I have a former student of mine does a food distribution up in Devil's Lake. And so I've been starting a conversation with him because he has space to see if there's anything, you know, we can start developing in that area where he's at. And he's off, his place is not on the reservation, so he's able to do kind of what he wants. He's butted heads with the tribe and some of his stuff. He's also a tribal member, but he's being pulled into that conversation too, because he's already doing food distribution and partnering with Great Plains Food Bank, and distributes tens of thousands of pounds of food every year to the community. So it's far too slow, and I'll just add my concern, because we've talked about how this is a great time to get it started, is I think the hard work is going to come after, when everyone is going to want to revert back to normal, or what was the status quo.
Right. Will it last?
It's a lot easier to motivate micro farming or family farming and victory farming, victory gardens on an individual basis. And it's very, very difficult to coordinate these things. Very difficult.
Okay.
Stephanie, Bill here. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. My battery is kind of going dead, so I went out and plugged into my vehicle. So going back to your original comment that opened this segment of the discussion in terms of our objectives and everything, I think it might be beneficial for some of the new folks to have an opportunity to review the Fleming report, which is our original plan, to look at 11 elements that we needed to do. And the role of the Alliance, one of the roles of the Alliance at that time was to not be the implementer, but function as a coordinator. We have, as you indicated and Karen indicated, these wonderful organizations that participate and belong to the Alliance, that our role is to make sure that we support them or inform them of some of the elements within that plan, whether it's succession planning or producer development or finance or aggregation, marketing, all the things that are identified in that plan is essential to have those elements to have a successful local foods development program in North Dakota. So just to remind everybody, a lot of those things are there. The data, I think, was last updated in 2017, but I think it still is relevant today in a lot of respects, maybe more relevant as we see the impact of the coronavirus in terms of how it's hurting rural communities. On the flip side, and not to get off track, I have, and I know I've talked to some of the colleagues on the phone call, that there's been kind of a renewed interest in remote rural areas and curiosity about it, and maybe it's short-lived, but maybe there is some opportunity for people who feel like they're living in a high density area and they don't feel safe. Maybe there's a chance to look at that as well. But just going back to the development plan, I think we should review that again and make sure that the organizations that have capacity to look at those elements would look at them and see if there's some things that they could take on. So thank you for listening to me.
Okay. So lots of thoughts about Food Hub work. I'm not certain about action steps moving forward there. Just that we're keeping it top of mind and thinking about what the needs are and how we can amplify the work that's already being done rather than reinventing the wheel or, yeah. How about in regard to membership, maybe just a quick poll, a temperature test. All who would be this isn't an actual vote for approval, it's just a temperature test. If you would be in support of a membership application in some form, could you raise your hand or say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
5. Okay. Is there anyone opposed? Okay. Same temperature test with a membership fee. Would you be in support of that?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
3,
Aye.
4.
Mostly aye. So aye, or further discussion, but yeah, aye.
Okay.
Update, yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
That sounds like an aye as well, right?
Okay. Well, we'll revisit that with a more a fleshed out plan. Maybe we can discuss that as a board, what that would look like. But it sounds like we're generally in favor. Surveys and research, and staffing. I don't know if we have time to really have that conversation right now, but just maybe if you'd submit your thoughts and ideas, if once we figure out what we're trying to do with Food Hub work or amplifying the work of other organizations, and then what level of staffing?
Maybe take this on.
Sorry? What level of staffing would we need, and what would we need that person or people to be doing? What tasks need to be done? And that's something that I could start like a document and we could add to it. Some of the things that I'm doing that Megan has done in the past, that Karen Ahrens has done in the past.
Sorry, I got kicked out there, but yeah, I think that working through another organization might be easier for you than having to try to hire somebody for the group itself.
Hi, Jill. Nice to see you.
Okay. And since it's almost 3, so thank you to those that submitted member updates. Karen, you had a substantial update, and there's a lot going on in food security. So do you want to say a few things?
Yes, thank you. Please, Stephanie did such a good job of pulling together all the information in the meeting invite on past partner updates and current partner updates. So please be sure to refer to those. I've been trying to provide, excuse me, situation analysis of where we stand with food insecurity in the state because of the pandemic and the economic ripples ensuing from that. And we know that more than 95,000 North Dakotans have filed for unemployment insurance. We have increasing demand from the Great Plains Food Bank, that we've had an increase in SNAP applications, that there's been significant 1,700 people applying for pandemic EBT applications. that 44% of 11,000 people in North Dakota who completed a North Dakota Department of Commerce survey indicated that food insecurity was of concern in their communities. The increasing price of food, and national surveys on the increase of food insecurity. So I just would like to keep bringing that to people's attention, bringing people together on the Creating a Hunger-Free North Dakota Coalition work to better respond to those needs, finding out where the gaps are, and taking an all hands on deck approach, because the food bank, pantries, and soup kitchens, I don't believe can meet all this need. The federal nutrition programs cannot meet all this need. And so all of the above are needed to help address this, including local foods and farmers markets who participate in SNAP, and grocery stores and places where people buy food too. So thanks.
Thank you, Karen. And I also just want to direct your attention, Jill also provided a link to a great website for beginning farmers, farmers.gov/manage/new farmers. And if anybody else has updates they want to share, you got the email form, the form in your email, and anything that gets updated to there, I will put in this Google link so people can see it. So it is 3 o'clock, and some of you may have other things to get to. I'm going to just play, for those that can stick around for a few minutes, I will play that Rural Grocers video so you can see it. And if you need to jump off, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll get the minutes sent out as soon as we're able. And thank you for all your work to support local foods in North Dakota.